Touch it.
One, two, test, test.
Morning, everybody. Just to say, please can you use your microphones when you speak so that it's picked up on the webcast, and the meeting is about to start.
Okay, well, look, thank you everybody for your patience. Sorry, we're starting slightly late. We've had a number of late amendments coming in, so I'm having to deal with that. And you'll appreciate, given this is my first meeting, I'm having to familiarise myself with some of the processes. So you'll need to bear with me later as those come up as well, please. So look, first of all, can I thank everybody for coming today, of course, and particularly thank South Gloucestershire Council for making their facilities available today to us. It's really great to be here and to see all the colleagues here today and all the officers as well making this possible. I wonder if I could just say very few words about my predecessor, Tim Bowles, just to say I obviously haven't met Tim yet, but I'm becoming more and more aware of all his hard work and efforts, and I want to wish him myself a really happy retirement. I have a feeling that we will probably hear more from Tim in the future as he decides to go into public life again in some way or other, I suspect, because I think having spent that much time and at such a senior level, I'm sure he will be making a contribution again. And can I also thank the former Baines group leader, Diana Romero, and Baines Council leader, Diana Romero, for her work as well, because I have come to understand and see that as I've looked at various videos, and I just want to acknowledge her hard work too, to the previous efforts of the Combined Authority. Okay, can I first of all then quickly... Oh, sorry, I've got my mask on, thank you very much. Can I first of all welcome the leaders, for those people who don't know them. Many of them will be very familiar to you, but can I start by introducing Councillor Kevin Guy, who's the leader of Bath and North East Somerset Council. Kevin's like me, I think this is his first meeting, so we're new boys today in the same boat. Obviously, the other council leaders need no introduction. Marvin Rees, the Mayor of Bristol for Bristol City Council, Councillor Toby Savage, the leader of South Gloucestershire Council, of course, and Councillor Don Davis, the leader of North Somerset Council. And can I also introduce and welcome Professor Steve West, who's chair of the Local Enterprise Partnership, who is a non-voting member of the committee. Before we move on to the main agenda items, I would just like to mention a couple of points. That this meeting is being live streamed on the West of England Combined Authority YouTube channel. And within the context of COVID-19 restrictions, we have made arrangements for some members of the public to join this meeting. I can see some of them there now. I can see David Redwell already. And they will be joining the meeting to present their statements. And just to note that all the statements received have been circulated and read by the committee members and are also available to view on the Combined Authorities website too. Okay, so let's move to item 2. Are there any apologies for absence? I don't think there are. Okay, thank you. Let's move on. Item 3 then, please. Are there any declarations of interest, please, from any of the members? No? Okay, can we note that for the record, please? Item 4, minutes of the previous meeting. Councillor Guy and myself won't be able to make reference to that because we weren't dealing with those issues at that time. But can I ask if anyone who was present, any of the members who were present, can testify to the fact that those were accurate minutes, please? Yes. Thank you, Toby and Marvin. Yeah, thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Right. I want to just very briefly make a few announcements as chair, and as obviously as a new chair. I don't want to say too much, to be frank. I think we've had an awful lot of stuff was said during the election campaign, so I'm sure many people are already familiar. But what I want to do is to thank everybody, obviously, who voted for me on May the 6th. It is a big job that I'm currently taking on, and I've been given a big mandate, so I thank everybody who's made that possible. But regardless of who you voted for, I will do my very best for you wherever you live in the West of England, not least because this is the area I've grown up and is my home. It's the place that's given me every opportunity that I've ever benefited from, and it's the place that matters most to me. Going on, thank you very much. Going on to further issues, I want to say that part of the objective, as you heard from the election campaign, as far as I'm concerned, is to put the West of England on the national map and the global map. I do believe that our profile has not been what it needs to be. We really do need to be much more successful, and people need to know more about us and what we do well, and why we're an amazing place to invest in and to live in, and all the rest of it. But what I guess I would say is that could people please, wherever possible, not use that awful term WECA? If you could say West of England, please, combined authorities, if you feel able to. I know it's a mouthful sometimes to say the longer phrase, but WECA sounds more like a massacre in Texas to me than telling people that we're an important part of the UK and that we have a global impact as well. So if you could do that, that would be really great. The challenge, I think, for us is to get a bigger size cake from the government. Government have many resources that they allocate. Our challenge, I think, is to get an even bigger size of pie so that we can do all the important things that we want for all our communities, whether that be in South Gloucestershire, Bristol, North East Somerset, or Bath, or North Somerset indeed. It's still clearly very tough times with COVID. I want to just thank all the NHS staff in particular, but all the others who've helped keep our societies and our communities going in this tough time. As we know, we're not out of the woods yet. So I just want to put on record my thanks for all those who keep making the things that we want happen, even though there are very tough circumstances of COVID. And I guess in closing for this part of the agenda, I just want to say that the environment is a key thing for me. I'll come on to this later because there's an agenda item, but it is the key issue of our time, I believe, and I think Councillor Guy is going to say something about that later in an amendment that he's putting forward. Okay, item 6, please. Items from the public. Now, we have 8 questions that have been submitted for this meeting, I understand, and as usual, details will have been circulated and written answers will have been sent to the questioners. And these are published on the website alongside the agenda papers for those people who are interested in following that up. And we've received 6 public statements. Each speaker has 3 minutes, and one of the officers here will give 30 seconds notice of when the 3 minutes is up, just to help you as you make your comments. So I'm going to call the speakers in turn, and I'm calling them on the basis of how they came to us. So the first person, I can see David there already, is David Redgewell. David, are you ready and in position to speak to us, please?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I think the main thing I want to talk about today really is government policy and, as you said, getting money from the government for the West England Combined Authority in North Somerset. First one I just want to mention is the Avon Ring Road and say that, Toby, we need to work at buses walking and cycling on those proposals on the Avon Ring Road. They don't fit in necessarily with demand response, and we're adding capacity at peak times. And that's not normally the way South Gloucestershire goes, to be fair to you. South Gloucestershire is more about integration of roads, highways, transport, so it needs looking at. But I want to welcome the work and the work that's going on in Keynsham and Thornbury on the high streets, and so just keep carry on. I know there's people don't like all of it, but we need to get on with those sites, and I welcome your work. It's both for you at Keynsham and Toby, particularly at Thornbury. On the issue of government policy, bus back better is the real concern to me. At the moment, it costs £27.3 million a week to maintain England's bus services. Nothing makes any money. It's all being run by the Department of Transport. The railways are 30 million a day. So bus back better is the policy to move forward with looking at both capital and some revenue. And we have to put a plan into the government by October for West England Combined Authority with North Somerset on an advanced quality partnership. Mr. Mayor, I welcome. That's a lot of work with the bus companies. But we need to also show passenger engagement. And that's about social regeneration. It's about hard to reach estates. It's about rural buses as well. It's not about just fast buses. There's a lot of good stuff in about Metrobus phase 2, which I fully support. And I love Metrobus for Thornbury and Keighley and Portishead and out towards Western and the airport and Marvin and South Bristol as well. But it's those estates we've got to hit, and we've got to make sure jobs, employment are all put together with the social needs as well. Baroness Beer's taking a very personal view of this, and she's looking at each of the bids. And having met her myself 3 or 4 times in the West Country, she'll want a really good bid. But we've got to have a passenger transport meeting with stakeholders by Zoom is the quickest and easiest way of doing it in the present circumstances. We've got the Bristol Transport Hall, which Marvin set up. WECA needs to integrate more with that. and the other three authorities need to send reps to it. And I was asked for that, and some passengers as well, if helpful.
30 seconds, please.
Okay, and then the other one is really the rail policy, and the rail policy is Great Britain's railways. We've got a devolution job to do there. I hope we will, and bring on something to WECA, and how we work with the Western Gateway Transport Board. But we want railways controlled locally in the West Country, not by civil servants in London telling us how many trains we want to Keynsham, or down to Frome or up to Gloucester on the Severn Beach, the Henbury line report says like. So that's the other big part of government policy. I'm not going to talk gear change, but you've got walking and cycling, and the government's just thrown a lot up. And I think if we actually work with them, we will get the money, but we have to work with them.
That's great, David. Thank you very much, and good to see the same passion as I've been witnessing over the last 35 years or so. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, the next person who wants to make a statement is Kim Hicks. Now, Kim wants to talk about the South Bristol Wrong Road, but because she's unable to attend today due to health reasons, she's requested as a reasonable adjustment that the statement be read aloud. And Shazia Daya is going to do that for Kim. So Kim is now Shazia today.
Thank you, Mayor. And I will read it word for word, so that there are acronyms in it, I'm afraid. So, statement on behalf of the South Bristol Wrong Road Group. The WECA Transport Plan gave many people causes for concern on some elements of the plan, specifically the idea of a road from the A4 at Brislington across Greenbelt to the A57 at Whitchurch and onto a residential road in Whitchurch, Whitchurch Lane. It was appreciated that the final transport document adjusted to refer to the new road as the South East Bristol Orbital Low Carbon Corridor. However, that still appears to involve building a road. It appears that this is not an active project at the moment. However, based on the reasons that thousands of people submitted to the JRTP for consultation, the route is not feasible, so many reasons. The pandemic and the recent climate ecological emergencies that have been announced since the transport plan was drawn up are also additional factors why the route should be removed from the plan as soon as possible. The fact that the route road is still in the transport plan is a concern. It is like the sort of galaxy South residents. People have suffered enough during the pandemic. They do not need this lurking in the background as well, especially if in reality it is unlikely to happen. If it is not likely to happen, then it should be removed from the current transport plan. Here are just a few reasons why the route should be removed from the transport plan. One, we cannot destroy our valuable green belt now more than ever. That goes against so many announced emergencies. Green belt is not replaceable. Two, it is not affordable. Even before the pandemic, there was a massive shortfall in funding. The failure of the JSP and the loss of the HIF bid money has not helped. Three, there are no current up-to-date studies to confirm the need for this route. Diverting additional traffic onto a residential road with speed humps, weight limits, 20-mile-per-hour zone, a road that is next to a 600-plus pupil junior school is unacceptable. There are thousands of people in the South Bristol Wrong Road Group who are keen to engage with WECA any opportunity to address this issue, and the group are looking forward to having a meeting with Dan Norris as soon as he can fit us in. We can bring him up to speed with the journey that the group has been on to this point. We can work with him and WECA to ensure that he understands where very many local people in the Bristol South area are coming from.
Thank you very much, Shazia. That's great. Thank you for saying those words on behalf of Kim. And I've obviously heard what Kim has said, and I look forward to meeting Kim and having a further discussion with her and her colleagues about the South Bristol Wrong Road issues. Okay, the next person who is going to present or speak to us today is Stephen Hunt. Is Stephen here? Hello, Stephen.
No. I don't believe Mr. Hunt's here.
Okay, right. In that case, we move on to the next person. It's from Lucy Travis and Peter Travis who wish to speak, and I think Peter Travis is going to actually be the one doing the speaking. Is Peter here? Hello, Peter. You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Congratulations on your election. Thank you for inviting me to your first meeting. I'm a bus campaigner. I've been a bus campaigner for many years. I'm going to talk about buses. I'm a road parish councillor, which is just over the border from west of England. I'm also co-chair of the Somerset Bus Partnership, which is an organisation set up to try and maximise the benefits to Somerset of Bus Back Better. The issue is cross-border routes. You've got many issues within the west of England, but cross-border routes are important, not just for those of us who live over the border, but also for the west of England, particularly the cities of Bath and Bristol. We supply many skilled and experienced workers who come and work in businesses and organisations in particularly those cities. But given the decimation of international tourism, particularly for Bath, we're well located to be able to be your prime target market for the cities of Bath, leisure industry, entertainment industry and service industry. So those bus routes are important. Somerset has only 1/5 of the bus journeys per head that the west of England has. And so we very heavily rely on cars, but the alternative to cars are very limited for the cities of Wales and Frome and for the villages. Active travel isn't really viable. There are no walkways, there are no cycleways, and it's a very busy route, particularly the A36. So really the only way of reducing the amount of car traffic coming particularly into Bath and Bristol from outside the area is to improve the bus transport. Now, there are initiatives being put forward, welcome initiatives being put forward for express routes for the market towns. But, thank you, the consequence of that is the risk of rural isolation for those villagers, and therefore I'd like to put that on your agenda. I'd also like to just echo what David says and invite you to, and your team, to make contact with the organisations in Somerset, particularly the Somerset Bus Partnership. I very much welcome you've opened dialogue with Somerset County Council, clearly with yet another reorganisation about to happen there, a reorganisation which actually isn't addressing the issue of the hinterland of Bath and Bristol, and therefore we have to look to the West of England Combined Authority to take cognizance of those issues, because Somerset is going to be distracted, but please do give attention to that issue in your considerations too, and particularly to the rural villages. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Peter, and can I thank you and through you, Lucy, as well, for your contribution today. I think the next person who wishes to speak is Councillor Martin Fodor. I hope I've pronounced your name right, Martin. Is that correct? And this is about the Climate Emergency Action Plan. So when you're ready, please start. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, and welcome to your first meeting. I'm delighted to see this on the agenda, and thank you for your comments at the start of the meeting about how you're prioritising sort of environment and sustainability issues. That really is important. And there is a host of groups and organisations and a wealth of experience in the region, in the west of England, who are very keen to work on this issue. Groups like Zero West have already done a vast amount to calculate the scale of the challenge and the targets that need to be met and all the options that need to be fed into that. So thank you for the report. And there were people outside on our way in today showing that they're continuing to press for action on this. So I'm delighted. And as you say in the report, further bolder action is needed. And that's really, really important. And it's great to set the scene with that commitment, as I say. In the run-up to COP, the importance of local contributions is particularly important. Local contributions is now enshrined in the United Nations Conference of the Parties programme as the work done at the local level that will add up to deliver some of what's needed by the national governments. So our local contributions really do matter. Obviously, they need proper support and proper resources, but cataloguing what's going on is going to be part of that story, and then calling for the extra support and resources to deliver that at the regional level, at the local level, at the community level as well is important. I'm particularly keen that you've said protecting climate and the natural environment, biodiversity, is part of your priorities. And it's also significant that you signed up to the Bristol Energy Network, 10 asks from Ben, which were 10 calls for support for community energy. There's actually a lot of interest in that. There have been people talking about that since the election. And so what you're now going to do for that is going to be observed and closely watched. And I do hope you'll give that support that you've promised, because it's an important part of that local contribution. But what we need now, in the past, we've had an awful lot of preparatory work, preliminary work, drafting of things that might be done, and it's now time for the ambition and the large-scale action, not the things in the pipeline, but sort of starting the delivery. Because, thank you, yeah, because we're 2 years in, next month, we're 2 years in to the target that this authority set, and there's only 9 years to go now. So a fully developed Green New Deal for the region would be something that could help join up an awful lot that you've been talking about. Increased commitment to cycling and walking, active travel, buses, rail, and so on, as has already been said. Serious investment to make streets safer and space for walking and cycling. The local cycling and walking infrastructure plan was a start, but it was a set of lines on the map, none of which are actually happening yet, and we need them to happen. And there are tensions between some of those, which are walking routes and cycling routes. So how are they going to be delivered? But above all, pulling things in the wrong direction has to stop. And your comments about road programs, I mean, vast investments in expanding the amount of traffic and congestion and pollution and use of fossil fuels is taking us in the completely wrong direction. So it's time to shift the funding and the priorities. So thank you for the commitment to the Green Recovery Plan. I look forward to what's going to be delivered in future. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Councillor Fodor. Really appreciate your comments. And obviously, it's a two-way street. You will have expectations of me, and I'll have expectations of everybody else too. We all have to work together really hard on this. Thank you very much. Is Robin Kerr here, please? Hello, Robin. You're going to speak to us next, I understand. Thank you very much for coming in today.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Mayor, and good morning, everyone. I am the new leader of the Bath Alliance for Transport and the Public Realm, which is an association of 22 major Bath organisations representing a spectrum of transport interests across the city. The Alliance was formed in 2016 with the aim of encouraging the development of a transport plan to resolve the city's transport problems and transform Bath into a place truly worthy of its World Heritage Site status. Prior to that, I was the chairman of the Federation of Bath Residents Associations for 6 years and a member of the Alliance's steering group. In that capacity, I have been to talk with West of England Combined Authority staff several times. We think that JLTP4 is a great improvement on its predecessor. We're also pleased that Baines is now developing a transport plan. We just hope that it will be ambitious enough in tackling the traffic congestion that blights the historic heart of the World Heritage Site and reducing the amount of traffic passing through the city as a whole. 3 of the most important and relevant initiatives which I discussed with Dan before the mayoral election are the need to take charge of the public transport agenda, as several of the speakers today have mentioned, which in Bath, of course, means buses at present. And I commended to him the guest blog on the Alliance website by James Freeman, lately the managing director of First Bus Southwest. Secondly, the need to create some facility to the east of Bath where drivers coming from that direction can leave their cars and shift onto some other form of transport if we're going to stand any chance of achieving carbon neutrality and of reducing overall traffic pollution and congestion there. This used to be in JLTP4, but seems mysteriously to have disappeared. Lastly, limiting the amount and weight of traffic crossing Cleveland Bridge after its repair. In addition, we feel that in a project of this size, complexity and controversy, a permanent stakeholder consultation body must be established, both because this would ensure some ownership of the solutions, but also provide a better result. Thank you. This applies not only to Baines Council, but also to the West of England Combined Authority, as both have executive authority in their respective fields. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Nice to see you again. Okay, thank you very much to everyone who has submitted a statement, and all the comments have been noted, and where they relate to agenda items will be taken into account by the committee today. The next item is item 7, which is comments from the chair of the Local Enterprise Partnership Board, and Professor Steve West is here in person to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan, and congratulations, and welcome to your first meeting. I'm going to just say a few words from our LEP board meeting on the 21st of June, where we welcomed you and a new councillor, so I hope you enjoyed the event. And it is an important feature of how we collaborate and partner across business communities and unitary authorities, and I think we should ensure that we nurture that and build on it so that it can thrive and flourish as we get into putting, as you stated, the West of England on the map. The board reviewed the papers for today's agenda, and I'd like to note the following points. We welcome the update on the work delivering the West of England Climate Emergency Action Plan, and in particular the Metro Mayor's proposal for the 20 million Green Recovery Fund to stimulate local action to address climate change, but importantly to also use that to further push government action and to help stimulate a sustainable green recovery. We have seen firsthand the impact of the pandemic onto our region's residents and businesses, and the Green Recovery Fund provides an opportunity not only to build for the future, but to do so in a way that helps us to work towards the goal of net zero by 2030. Recognising, of course, that that amount of money needs to be built on. We need to be ambitious, we need pace, we need focus, we need to be measuring our impacts and recognising that this is the future for all of our citizens. Similarly, the board supports the allocation of the 100,000 LEP funding to focus on digital connectivity, and this is a challenge that has been highlighted during the pandemic in a very real way, and which as a region we need to address as we move into recovery. We need to mobilise and use our resources effectively to share and collaborate to ensure that we are putting money where it will have the biggest impact. I'm pleased to say that strong financial controls that we have in place have ensured that the Local Growth Fund and the Getting Building Fund will meet their spending targets by the required deadlines. It's also good to see the opportunity to develop a case for investment in Western Business Quarter, which could in turn facilitate future phases of the food works, which was supported through the local growth funds. As you know, Dan, my period of being chair of the Local Enterprise Partnership is coming to a close after 4 years. I'll shortly be handing over to Richard Bonner from Arcadis, who was elected chair at our full board meeting on the 21st of June. I'd like to make a couple of just observations, if I may. Whilst I'm immensely proud of the role that the LEP has taken in shaping the regional strategy, directing and ensuring that we use our funds appropriately, and have helped shape regional priorities, I do worry about what the future looks like. My concerns are that as a city region, we are going to have to play even more collaboratively. We're going to have to create partnerships that are deep and meaningful, and that are able to interface effectively with central government to ensure that the funds that we need travel down the M4 in this direction, rather than going to other parts of the country. And I know that that is difficult, given the political agendas. The Business Board, I think, does offer us an opportunity to ensure that the voices of business are played into and support, of course, the political voices. There will be occasions, I'm sure, where we'll have very difficult conversations, where we'll need to debate and discuss and challenge constructively to ensure that we end up with an outcome that does meet the needs of the entire city region and cuts through to significant funding streams that we are all going to need from central government. But if we can do that, then business can play its part in adding to those investments from central government. And that seems to me to be the power of partnership boards and the power of collaborating in a very meaningful way. It's very clear that jobs, jobs, jobs are the future in terms of economic recovery. But in order to do this, we need to take care of the skills agenda, the education that's going to be required to create opportunities for young people and for people who have lost employment during the pandemic and need to be retrained. We need infrastructure that really does address the challenges that we have, not least in climate and ecological change. And we need good developments for housing. But alongside that, we need to recognise the pressures within health and social care that we're going to have to address in terms of our forward-thinking economies, and we're going to have to start thinking about new green economies that haven't yet been invented, that we're going to have to train a workforce for, and to ensure that we capitalise on the high technology that we have available to us already in our city region, capitalising on that to create new areas of business going forward. And finally, we're going to have to learn how to incentivise and encourage inward investment, because this is the right place for businesses to invest, to thrive and flourish, to ensure that we have a strong infrastructure, great education that equips young people to thrive and flourish going forward. But we must do this in an inclusive way. That's our future. I recognise in your manifesto that that is what you stand for. And I look forward, even behind the scenes, to continue working with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor West. I couldn't agree more with what you said, actually, and thank you very much for your offer of continued working, because that will be important, I think. Your experience, knowledge and effort over the last 4 years in particular, in the particular role you're currently about to give up, has been very important, I think. I'm unfortunate that you are leaving as I arrive, but I'm sure Richard Bonner will be a good support too. Can I thank you ever so much for what you've done, because I know there's an awful lot of work that goes on, often unnoticed, behind the scenes as well as the obvious stuff. And it is very much appreciated by everybody that I have met and dealt with. They've all spoken very positively about your contribution, and I hope you realise that and know that. And I think that University UK's gain is our loss, I'm afraid. So I wish you well with that. And I know that you'll remember, obviously, your own institution as you take up that important role, but you'll also be thinking very much about our other institutions that are all important, Bath University, Bristol University and Bath University too, because they are a key part of what our offer is in exactly the ways you're saying is so important. So thank you so much. Really, really appreciate that. Good luck and see you soon. Okay, we're coming now to item 8, and this, I beg your pardon, sorry.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to add my own thanks as one of the leaders that has been able to work with Steve over the last few years that I've been doing this role, and the contribution and impact that you've made to the work that we've done and the achievements that we've been able to secure as a region really can't be underestimated. And I know that you'll continue to be a supporter of our work, and I just wanted to add my own personal thanks for everything that Steve's done.
Thank you very much, Toby. I very much appreciate it. Marvin, would you like to come in?
Well, I can't miss that, can I? Yeah, so I mean, I'll endorse all that, all that. But also, Steve, stuff that people wouldn't have seen, that on, a number of occasions you've given me personal bits of advice as well. And I've really appreciated that on my own journey as well. And sometimes some of the most significant things are done in secret, aren't they? Without much plaudit, but it's worth people knowing that that is, the kind of person you are as well. So much appreciated.
Thank you, Marvin. Don, would you like to? You just said thank you. Very important, really important. And obviously, Kevin and I didn't have the benefit of working closely with you, Steve, but your reputation is clear, and we look forward to working with you in whatever way we can over the coming years. And as I said before, good luck with all that you're doing in the future. Thank you.
My only final comment is play as a team. It's going to be the only game in town. Play as one team.
Thanks, Steve, very much. Okay, item 8, comments from the Overview and Scrutiny Committee. Now, we have received written comments from the committee following their meeting earlier in the week, and copies of these have been circulated and are available on the website alongside committee agenda papers for those who want to follow that up. Thank you. Now, we now come to item number 9. Now, I've got a baptism of fire because already there's an amendment that I wasn't aware of until very recently. So I'm going to ask Shazia to guide me through the various processes as I do that. Please intervene because I'm going to get this wrong, I know. So what we'll do is we will start. Perhaps you could just give me an overview of how it works, Shazia, to remind me, as it's a little while since I last did a local government chairing of a meeting.
So, Chair, you have the report there. You will move the report. An amendment, I believe, will come from the floor. That needs to be seconded. That will then be debated, and then you will take a vote. There'll be a summary from the person proposing the amendment, and then we'll do the vote, and the majority will prevail.
Okay, so, sorry. Okay, it's working now. Okay, something was going on there. Okay, so we come to item 9. So this report sets out the details of the Combined Authority Committee memberships in terms of reference, and it also seeks approval of the Combined Authority's pay policy statement. And I'd now like to move the recommendations set out in the report. So can I please have a mover or a seconder or an amendment, please?
I'm proposing an amendment.
Okay. How do we do this now, Shazia? How do we tell people what the amendment is, or do we let them look it up afterwards?
So, Chair, it would be helpful for the webcast if it could be read.
Okay. So I will now. Why don't you read it, Shazia?
I know.
Okay, so the amendment is, as the West of England... Sorry.
Excuse me, Chair, I think maybe it's in the microphone.
Sorry.
There, thank you. So, as the West of England Combined Authority transitions from its first mayoral term, it would be appropriate to undertake an internal governance review to better understand what has worked well over the last 4 years and those areas where we can come together further to deliver improved collaborative working to the greater benefit of our area. This would also recognise that over this period, the external environment has changed significantly and new ways of working may now be more appropriate in facing the challenges and opportunities ahead. It is important this work is focused and delivered at pace so any recommendations can be put into practice quickly and that it is jointly owned by WECA and the 3 constituent local authorities and is independently supported to enable inequality of voice. So the recommendation is a formal internal review is undertaken to make recommendations on improvements to joint working led by the chief executives of the constituent bodies, that up to £100,000 is set aside to support the commissioning of any work that may be required, and summary findings are reported back to the committee in October.
Thank you, Shazia, for that. Is there a seconder, please? Toby, thank you for seconding that. Okay, can we move to debate? Who would like to speak to that, please?
Well, I guess it'd be me first, Charles, the process, or do I come in at the end?
So it's up to you. You can speak now, or you can sum up as well. So you can do it twice.
Okay. So why don't I just say a few words now? So you know, despite the introduction which I get, this really isn't about baptism of fire. It is about recognising the challenges we faced. I think that there would be, I mean, clearly it was an election issue, and one that you raised yourself, which was about how effective combined authority has been, and we've had some wins, but irrespective of where you think it is on that scale of effectiveness, there is always room for improvement. And the act of taking time to pause, well, not to stop, I'm saying that, but making space to reflect and to learn and gather evidence and understand the nature of the challenge within our processes and within our culture, to understand the nature of the context in which we are working and the changing nature of that context, understanding the government, effectively what's going on and their agendas we are working with, I think is a very important part of the development of any organisation, just as it is in any individual, to take those opportunities to do that. And that's what this is, a real opportune time as you come in for us to engage in this governance review, to think about who we are and how we're going to operate more effectively in the future. And that's what this amendment is asking us to commit to.
Okay, thank you, Marvin. Anyone else like to speak, please? Toby.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'm happy to second this amendment and new recommendation, and very much echo what Marvin has said as the proposer. I think as we move from a first term combined authority to a second term combined authority, I think we do need to take the opportunity to review our processes, our policies and our culture. All of those were based around having to create an organisation from scratch. Now I think as we step up a gear or more when it comes to delivery, I think it is appropriate that we do commence a review. And I note that the recommendation doesn't conclude with what the outcome of said review would be, but I think would provide us with the time, the space, the opportunity to be able to share our experiences of the first 4 years and how we can improve on that for the next 4 years, and importantly to be able to ultimately deliver on the commitments that we were all elected to do. Commitments that are common amongst our various manifestos, so I think it is reasonable that we do commence that process, and that process is appropriately resourced so that we can get it underway. So I'm happy to second that amendment.
Thank you, Toby. Thanks for seconding. Kevin, you wanted to come in.
Thank you, Dan. Yeah, I think we've obviously got a new pair of feet in the mayor's boots here, so there's a perfect opportunity to sit back and reflect. Everyone in life has to have self-reflection. It's really important. I think any organisation needs self-reflection as well. And I would reiterate what Marvin has said, that this wouldn't be a pause, this would be a gear change. It's very important that we step up the great work that's already been achieved by the West of England Combined Authority, and we improve on that, and we look at areas that we may be struggling with, and particularly with the current government that does like to throw things at us very quickly in times of change. We need to be able to be an organisation that can react to that change quickly, and I think a governance review will allow us to do that. So that's why I'll be supporting the amendment.
Marvin, would you like to speak again before I put it to a vote?
Full circle again, just to back the colleagues. It's a point that Toby made actually that is worth us recognising the danger of, that when we're building from scratch, while at the same time trying to deliver, we're doing lots of things incredibly quickly. The danger in a situation like that is the practices and the culture you end up operating with is not one that you've consciously chosen as being the best and the most appropriate. It's one that you've fallen into. And again, we need to have real evidence that tells us what are the practices that we've chosen and what are those that we've not chosen and which are the best and what do we want to keep, so that the thing that this combined authority that we're operating in is one that operates in a way that we want it to operate, because it is focused on delivery and is best positioned to enable us collectively, acting collectively, but as also as individual authorities within that, that collective, to be able to deliver and make the change at the scale and pace that our populations and our world needs. But we have to do that on purpose. It can't just be stuff that we float through and do accidentally.
Thank you very much, Marvin. I'm not sure of the order. I might be pulled up here, but what I want to say is that sorry, Steve, why don't you come in? Sorry, I didn't see.
This is just an observation and a comment, which I guess is there is a LEP review that is ongoing, which might need to be reflected upon, given the fact that the LEP and the combined authority are often in the same spaces trying to do the same things. So I suspect, I guess what I'm suggesting is that if there is to be a review, we take note of whatever the outcome of the LEP reviews are that are currently going on nationally, and then also reflect on how do we want the relationship between the LEP and the combined authority to move forward in light of that, but also echoing what I said at the beginning, in the end, this is about effective partnership working at pace and collaboration that is deep and meaningful. And I'm slightly anxious, if I'm honest, if one bit gets looked at and the other bit doesn't get looked at, because it doesn't quite add up. Just an observation.
Okay, Steve, thank you very, very much. That's really, really helpful. Now, Shazia, can I just check, am I putting the amendment to a vote now?
Yes, Chair. So, assuming you don't want to say anything, then it's a majority vote, and the Mayor needs to vote in favour, as usual, if it's a majority.
Machine is not working. That's better. Okay, Toby, come in. Thanks.
Chair, thank you. I thought that in order for an amendment to be sort of proposed, seconded and voted on, that there needs to be a sort of a substantive proposal that was first moved, and to move it, it requires to be proposed and seconded.
Sorry, Chair. So the Mayor, as is usual, moves all of the reports. So you're quite correct, Councillor Savage. The Mayor needs to move the report. We then discuss the amendment, and then we can do the vote.
Does there need to be a second for that?
For the amendment or the actual report?
Because presumably the Mayor is moving, when you say the Mayor is moving the report, he's moving all of the recommendations.
Okay.
Would he require a seconder for that?
So if we start with the Mayor moving the report, let's second the report, and then we'll take the amendment as discussed and vote separately on the amendment, and then go back to the main report. That's the process. So, Mayor, if you move the report as is.
Okay, Toby, thank you very much, because this is a bit of a hurdle for me, and I appreciate you making sure we're getting this right, so thank you for that. So can I formally move the whole report, please? In that, is that seconded?
No. So if fine. So if the report isn't seconded, then we can't discuss the report today. Okay. The only issue that I think you would need to look at is the arrangements for scrutiny and audit, which obviously look at the way the combined authority operates. The other items can all wait. It's just item 4 that really we should be looking at.
Okay, so it's recommendation 4 we need to now concentrate on. Is that right?
That's it, Chair. So perhaps if we could ask that one item is moved and seconded.
Okay, can I move item 4 formally, then, or recommendation 4 formally, please? Is that seconded?
If it's not seconded.
Just lost track a little bit. Bringing the report forward, are we taking a position on whether the report is brought forward with the amendment?
Sorry, no. We've gone back to actually,
okay.
There is no seconder for the actual report at the moment. So if you're, so the only other option is to take the amended report and vote on that. But actually, the usual process is that you would move the report, we would have a seconder, we'd have the discussion, we'd have the amendment, we'd have that discussion, then we'd go back to the substantive report. At the moment, we don't have a seconder for the report at all. That means that item 4 is the one that we may need to come back with to another meeting.
Okay, so Shadi, what are we doing with this item now?
So it stands adjourned.
It stands
As, yeah.
Okay. Why that item stands adjourned? Martin, did you want to say something?
Fundamental question is the question then, is the amendment going to be accepted to the report?
No, it can't. Gone,
Chair, if I may, there may be a way forward, which is to for Marvin to propose the recommendations in their entirety, along with the new recommendation 6, which is the amendment. There may well be a seconder for that, and indeed I'm happy to second that, and then we can debate, vote, and the like.
Okay, Shadi, is that
That would work, and then what you would do is debate each item separately.
okay? I think I'm with you. So guide me as I go through because it's complex. Okay, Martin.
So what I guess in that instance, then I propose move the whole report with the amendment, and that's my proposal.
So I suggest we've got the additional item 6. So if we take them one at a time, go through the recommendations and take.
The recommendations have been moved en bloc. They've been seconded en bloc. The expectation would be that there is a single vote on them all, and so they either all fall, they either all pass or all fall.
Yeah. So in which case the matter needs to be adjourned, and we'll have to come back to another meeting.
Okay, so I'll be adjourning that.
That item, yeah, the whole item, yeah.
That's where we're at. Thank you, everybody.
Point of order, Chair. So can I be clear that you're not allowing us to vote on this issue? Is the advice that the conversation that has been going on with the Chief Executive and the Chief Legal Officer of WECA, has that been based upon depriving us of a vote?
No, Chair, it's the amendment. The amendment hasn't been accepted, therefore you cannot vote on it.
The recommendations have been moved en bloc. It's been proposed,
Mm-hmm.
it's been seconded. There are now 6 recommendations that have been moved and seconded. And it would be my expectation that we would be able to vote on those.
So if there is a vote, you can vote en bloc, but obviously the Mayor has to agree to all of them.
Correct.
Okay, well, look.
Well, I appreciate that this is a combined authority decision, but it does impact on North Somerset in the sense that the item 4B does involve, because of the way you've constructed the paper, the North Somerset Council representatives on the Overview and Scrutiny Committee. Therefore, are we saying that without passing any of the items on this paper, that both the Audit Committee and the Overview and Scrutiny Committee have no legal basis to meet or indeed review or review papers or report back here?
They are statutory committees, so we do need to confirm the arrangements. But obviously, at the moment, we have existing committees that are providing that statutory obligation. But I will need to bring that back to committee.
So in that case, can I put it to the vote then? So all...
That falls.
Chair, if I just may make a helpful suggestion that it might be worth us having a short adjournment now, because there may well be a couple of those recommendations that we could pass today. You may wish to call that adjournment so we can have that discussion.
No, I'm not minded to call an adjournment. I'm minded to get on with business now. We've talked a lot about this already. Hope people can hear me for the Joint Committee. It has been established practice for the Metro Mayor to chair the Joint Committee. It is suggested that we maintain this practice, bearing in mind that from the very practical perspective of members of the public watching, the business of this meeting will flow more efficiently if the same individual chairs both the Combined Authority and the Joint Committee. If we don't continue in this practice, we will in effect need to revert to the previous situation we once had, where the committees met separately, one after another, which in the past caused a degree of public confusion. So on that basis, please can I ask for a nomination and a seconder for the chair of the Joint Committee, please? Is there a nomination, please? Toby.
Chair, I'm happy to nominate you as chair of the Joint Committee.
Thank you, Toby, for that. Is there a seconder, please? Kevin and Don. Okay, thank you very much indeed. Can I please ask the Joint Committee to confirm the nomination and accordingly elect the chair as proposed? Yes? Show, thank you very much. All in agreement there, thank you. Please can I now ask for a nomination and seconder for the Vice Chair of the Joint Committee? Is there a nomination for Vice Chair, please, Don?
I'd like to nominate Councillor Toby Sykes.
Thank you very much. And is there a seconder for that, please? I know, yes, both Councillor Lee and Mayor Rees. Thank you very much. Finally, can I please ask the committee to note the membership and terms of reference as per recommendations 2 and 3? Thank you. Sorry, did we not vote on you? Oh, Toby, how dare I? Can I, all those in favour of Toby being the Vice Chair? Thank you. That's carried. Any against? Assume not. Thank you. Right, you're there, Toby. Sorry, apologies. Right, can we move on? Is that okay, Shazia? Can we move on to the next item without me causing any issues about that? Okay, that's great. Thank you very much. Thanks for bearing with us, everybody. We're having a good day today. Okay, the next item is item 11. And I know there's an amendment to this coming from Councillor Guy. So I'll read out the amendment now, Kevin, if that's okay. Tell me if I get any of this wrong, please, because I've only just received it, really. Okay, so it's the item 11, Climate Emergency Action Plan update, and the amendment is as follows. To agree items 2 and 3 of the Climate Emergency Action Plan update and to withdraw the Climate Emergency Action Plan update report, mayors and leaders to review the Combined Authority's approach to climate emergency and to bring back recommendations to a special meeting of the Combined Authority and the Joint Committee in September 2021, whereby the Combined Authority will confirm a new and aspirational approach towards climate emergency strategy and action plan ahead of the COP conference in Glasgow starting in early November 2021. I think I might have missed out the word remainder. Is that critical, Kevin? No, that's fine. Okay, so there we are. It's been moved.
So you're moving with the amendment?
So I move the amendment formally.
You're moving the report with the amendment and you need a seconder.
Great. Okay, so I'm moving the report with the amendment and I need a seconder, please. Thank you, Kevin. That's no surprise. Thank you for that. Okay, can we move, therefore, to the recommendation with the amendment accepted, please? Are there any members who wish to speak on this, first of all? Don.
Just for clarity of the people watching, I would like us to reread the amendment. I didn't catch it all.
Yep.
I've got a slight issue with the amendment. So you use the word aspirational. I think a word like focused or direct action or something like that would be better. The problem is it's aspirational at the moment. It needs to be better than that. All right, checking for a better admin.
Yeah, really welcome it being brought and welcome the challenge that Kevin's brought on this. And I think it is really important, particularly if there's some of the challenges being raised nationally yesterday about the need for our work on climate change, and we'd add into that obviously the ecological emergency going hand in hand, to be very specific, as Don's just raised as well, to be dated, timeline, when's it going to happen, how are we going to measure it, and putting some real money towards it. And I think actually for us to work as a region, more with our nature footprint, you might say, our climate travel to work economic area footprint is a real good one. We have an opportunity in coming together again around this in September to really set a standard and make a statement in the lead up to COP as well. But as Don said, it's not just about making statements, it's about having something to put on the table. And we as a region do have quite a prominent position in COP that's coming up as well. So the opportunity for us to tell our story and to encourage action in other areas as well is a real rich one. So really welcome intervention by Kevin, Councillor Guy. So.
Yeah, just to say that I'm supportive of what's being proposed and echo the comments made.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and thanks for everybody's support on this one. I think it's really important that this is not seen as a pause to any piece of work that's going on. It's a rethink. We need measurable actions to take forward. This is the most important thing that faces this generation and all generations to come. So we need to have a real clear rethink and I like the word ambitious is key. This is really, really important to all of our residents, and it's one of the reasons I think that the three authorities can work really closely together to improve people's lives. So I'm happy that everyone's accepting the amendment. Cheers.
Yeah, okay. I'm putting my microphone on now because I'm not sure if people can hear or not hear with it. But anyway, the amendment is as follows: to agree items 2 and 3 of the Climate Emergency Action Plan update and to withdraw the Climate Emergency Action Plan update report. Mayors and leaders to review the combined authorities approach to the climate emergency and to bring back recommendations to a special meeting of the combined authority and the joint committee in September 2021, whereby the combined authority will confirm a new and aspirational approach. And I think we agreed to remove aspirational, is that right? And make it ambitious, right? Towards a climate emergency strategy and action plan ahead of the COP Glasgow conference in November 2021. So I hope that's clear and we've got there. Don, is that meet your needs? Okay, that's great. So in that case, let me just see. We've spoken about it. All right, so can I now move in that case the voting for that, including the amendment, of course, for the Combined Authority Committee members? Please can we vote on all the recommendations 1, 4 and 5 plus, including now the amendment? And can we vote, sorry, can we note the recommendations? Sorry, 1, 4 and 5, is that noted? Sorry. That was noted, sorry. Then now can we please vote on block on recommendations 2, 3, including the amendment? Those in favour? Okay, thank you very much. That's everybody who can vote has voted. So that goes through. Thank you very much. And can I please ask the joint committee members to note the report? So I hope we're now where we need to be after that exciting, another exciting amendment today. Thank you. Okay, item 12, the Bus Network Recovery and Bus Infrastructure Programme. This report sets out proposed next steps in responding to the National Bus Strategy and sets out proposals for taking forward the Bus Service Improvement Plan, Bus Infrastructure Programme and Metrobus Consolidation Package. And I wish to highlight that the proposal today is to agree to publish a notice of intent to proceed with the development of a joint enhanced partnership between the West of England Combined Authority and North Somerset Council, Bath and North East Somerset Council, Bristol City Council and South Gloucestershire Council and bus operators. I now move the recommendations for the Combined Authority as set out in the report. Can I please call for a seconder? Is there a seconder for this, please? Okay, Councillor Savage has seconded. That's noted, thank you. I also move the recommendations for the joint committee as set out in the report. Can I please again call for a seconder for that? Thank you, Don. You may want to speak to that now or later, seconders. Are there any members who wish to speak on this item at all, please? Kevin.
Just very quickly, Chair, thank you very much. I think I fully support the plan. I like it a lot. It's just important noting that we purely don't focus on the volume corridors when it comes to bus routes, that we look at our rural communities and we make sure that they don't miss out when we're doing these big achievements.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very, very much, Kevin. Okay. Sorry, I've lost my way. Can you just remind me? Does anyone else want to speak while I'm finding my place? Sorry, Don, go ahead.
In North Somerset, passed a similar motion at our executive meeting earlier this week, so we're very supportive of the whole approach. I certainly echo Kevin's comments around looking at both urban and rural areas, and I do think the one key for me, which I'll be looking for when the reports come forward, is an innovative approach to this, because I do think that the way we've done things in the past won't deliver what we need, and we do need to look. We've done some great work in the bus strategy paper we brought forward earlier last year. We need to work upon that, but we need to actually make that real for people to understand how we're going to deliver these services, because ultimately we can chat away as much as we like. It's the person trying to get on the not Clapham omnibus, but hopefully the Kingswood to Bath omnibus or similar. Thank you.
Well, I'd just like to say that I know there's been an awful lot of discussion about bus franchising. I was lobbied a lot about that during the campaign, and what I want to say is that isn't an issue that has gone away. That is an issue that's constantly under review. It does have merits. It's just that we don't have an income stream like authorities like Manchester, who can use money from trams to subsidise buses effectively, and we don't get the national subsidy like places like London do, which I think is something like 60-fold what we get per head. But it doesn't mean that franchising doesn't have its merits. It just means that it isn't now, which is why I want to proceed in the way that we've been discussing and being proposed. So I'll now move to the voting for the Combined Authority Committee members. Please can we firstly note recommendation 1? Is that noted, please? Thank you. Toby?
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, it's the webcasting won't pick up unless the microphones are on, so that's why I was that awkward pause. Just as a seconder, I just wanted to be able to comment if that's okay. So just wanted to say that I welcome this report. You know, the future of public transport is a really critical issue for the combined authority as a transport authority, and also in the context of the issue that we've just talked about around the climate emergency. But also our placemaking and master planning approach that we're doing within our town centres and high streets, and which have been resourced through the combined authority. I think I absolutely welcome the evidence-based approach that enables us to properly understand the implications of the options in front of us. I think this is the right option to be pursuing. I note in the report that the option of franchising would have taken us 2 years to assess, and that assessment process would have cost over £5 million. So I think when we talk about the best use of the resource that we've got, actually, on the ground improvements that are visible to our residents is absolutely the way to go. So very much welcome the report.
Thank you very much, Toby. Appreciate those contributions. Right, if we can now then move to the voting for the combined authority. Oh, sorry, Marvin, I apologise.
Just a couple of quick things while we're here. One is just to stress the importance of engaging with the public and passengers on this. It's obviously get that really upstream, make sure we build it in. And as we think about that, maybe our various community development teams around our patches could be key to that. Secondly, I have to just raise again the importance of actually us delivering on our ring of park and rides around the city. There are some challenging sites, but there are some areas in which I think we really need to focus and drive on and get them done. And we can if we really bring some focus to it.
Thank you very much, Marvin. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak before we move forward on this? No? Okay, that's great. Okay, then, third time lucky, let's go. I shall now move for the voting for the Combined Authority Committee members. Can we please note recommendation 1? Is that noted, please? Thank you very much. Please, can we now vote en bloc on recommendations 2, 3 and 4? Those in favour, please. Thank you very much. Everyone in favour. And then can I now move for the voting on with joint committee members? Please note, can we note recommendation 1? Is that noted, please? Thank you. And please, can we vote on recommendation 2? Those in favour for that? Everybody's voted in favour of that, please. Thank you. That's noted. Thank you very much. Okay, item 13, and we have another amendment. I think Marvin wants to make an amendment, but before we do that, let me just set out what the report is about first. This report sets out the revenue outturn for the West of England Joint Committee for the financial year 2021, based on data for the period April 2020 to March 2021. And I'd like to highlight the commitment to digital connectivity being taken forward through this report. And some of you will know from some of the debates that happened during the election campaign that my broadband living in the middle of North East Somerset was not the best. And I'm not alone, sadly, and that is something we clearly want to do. It's really important that all of us have really high-speed, efficient, reliable and affordable broadband, and this is what we all want to see for all our citizens and businesses and schools and colleges. So I'm going to move the recommendation set out the report, and I think Marvin wants to make an amendment.
Sure. And just by way of preamble, I think going back to the points you made earlier on, the reason we've come together is to work together and to create the culture and structures that support as effective joint working as possible to avoid duplication. And that's the context within which this amendment's brought, and it's on digital exclusion and the importance of tackling that. See, the amendment reads, a recommendation that £100,000 is allocated from the LEP reserve to drive digital inclusion and connectivity across the communities within the region. This allocation is requested to progress specialist work to develop an evidence-based picture of current activity to tackle digital exclusion and connectivity across the West of England region, including North Somerset, and to set out some options and actions to support these existing initiatives and identify any gaps. This will draw together existing evidence from across each of the constituent unity authorities and identify what value added they may be from developing a regional strategy. So the recommendation is to approve £100,000 from the LEP Reserve to focus on digital inclusion and connectivity with a financial sign-off for each phase of the works delegated to the Chief Executives from the constituent authorities of the Joint Committee, subject to the final approval of the Accountable Officer.
Okay, thank you very much, Marvin. Is there a seconder to that? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So, yeah, I will speak on this amendment as seconder. And firstly, to echo what Marvin has said, I think this is a key work stream, and one within which we have secured some really significant investment over the years as a combined authority in the likes of 5G tourism, the future mobility zones, and of course our own umbrella digital testbed, which is nearing build completion and will be launching soon. And I think there are significant opportunities if we get the governance around this right, and if we can really engage positively with other partners, not least the Western Gateway, where I think all of those partners are clear that the digital agenda is one that the entire Western Gateway region can get behind, and to push a really strong digital programme.
Steve, would you like to come in, please?
Thank you, Chair. The digital agenda is clearly hugely important to the whole region and the future of our economy. So I think what I would be looking for is the outcome of this to be a very clear digital strategy, an inclusive digital strategy that does look across the city region, but involves business input, because the investment streams are going to have to be joint funding from industry, from business investments working in partnership with unitary authorities and the combined authorities. So I think this is an important piece of work to be done. And I do think that at the output of that should be a very clear digital strategy that demonstrates a programme of work with milestones that we can then track and monitor and effectively encourage inward investment through. Because we've all seen the impact of not getting it right over the past 12, 18 months, the disadvantage that there is in terms of digital poverty across our region. And it seems to me this is such a big agenda, and if we're really serious about climate change, then we've got to get this bit right, because it will help us deal with some of the impacts of climate.
Thank you very much, Steve. Well, look, can I just say that I'm happy to support that amendment too. It is really emphasising a lot of the work that we're already doing. I think we're all in agreement pretty much on this, and thank you very much, Marvin and Toby in particular, for stressing the significance and raising your amendment. I just want to quickly say a couple of things. That, the digital strategy is a large piece of work that we are currently doing, just to be clear, so that everybody knows what's happening. And the broadband, obviously, connectivity, well, this is what the £100,000 is for. So just to make sure that people know, we are working hard on this. We think it's important. We're re-emphasising the importance of that and wanting to push on because it does matter so much. Okay, so look, all those in favour of the amendment, please show. Okay, that's everybody who's voted for that, so please note that. So I will now move to the voting for the Joint Committee members. Please, can we note recommendation A? Is that noted, please? Thank you very much, and please can we now vote en bloc for recommendations B and C, including the amendment. Those in favour? That's everybody. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, item 14, please. This is the Local Enterprise Partnership One Front Door Funding Programme. This is the latest local enterprise partnership One Front Door funding programme report for consideration by the Joint Committee. The main aim for the decision is to approve the arrangements to take forward the Western Business Quarter project through to full business case stage. This will deliver the infrastructure and utilities required to service the remaining 30 acres of land still yet to be developed in ownership of North Somerset Council in the Western Business Quarter, which is part of the Junction 21 enterprise area. And just to add, we have successfully fulfilled our local growth fund commitments by the required 31st of March 2021 deadline. So that ensures that every penny of the very large 202 million government grant remains within the region, which I think is important people know. Okay, I now move the recommendation set out in the report. Can I call for a seconder, please? Don, that's noted, thank you. Would you like to speak to that now or later, Don? Obviously, this will be something of importance to you.
Yes, I mean, it's great that the Joint Committee is supporting this piece of work with North Somerset Council. It's a key deliverance area for us in terms of Western-super-Mare and the wider regional strategy we're endeavouring to lead with our Food Works programme, and it is key to unlocking that land, so thank you very much for supporting this.
Okay, is there any other members who wish to speak to this item, please? No, nobody. Okay, thank you very much. I shall now move to the voting for the Joint Committee members. Please can we note recommendation 1? Is that noted? Thank you. And please can we now vote on recommendation 2? Those in favour, please. That's everybody. Thank you very much. That's carried then. Thank you very much. The next item is item 15, the strategic rail investment. This report seeks to endorse, the endorsement of recommendations to continue the development and delivery of the rail programme. What I want to talk about is a couple of things very briefly, that this is an opportunity for us to show some of the commitments that really matter to us in the report. Firstly, perhaps the funding of the footbridge to connect the A4018 immediately north of the railway to the western edge of the new Henbury train station. That's clearly something that's important to make that project a success in the longer term, and to take forward the step-free station proposals for 5 stations to improve station accessibility. And those aren't absolutely defined, just for clarity so that people know, but they recognise areas of deprivation, and at the moment the ones that we think are probably most in need of support in this way are in Bath at Oldfield Park Station, and in Bristol, Lawrence Hill Station, Parsons Street Station, Bedminster Station, Stapleton Road Station. I now move the recommendations as set out in the report. Can I call for a seconder, please? Is there a seconder? Thank you very much, Kevin. Do you wish to speak now or later on this? You're okay, thank you very much. Are there any members who haven't spoken who want to speak on this? No, thank you very, very much. I shall now move to the voting for the Combined Authority Committee members. Please can we vote en bloc on recommendations 1, 2 and 3, please. Those in favour? Thank you very much, that's carried. Thank you. Item 16. Combined Authority Metromare Budget Outturn Report. This report presents the revenue budget financial outturn information for the West of England Combined Authority and the Metromare budget for the financial year 2021, based on data for the period April 2020 to March 2021. I now move the recommendation as set out in the report. Please can I call for a seconder? Is there someone who's happy to second, please? Thank you, Toby. Appreciate that. Do you wish to speak to this at all, Toby? No? Okay, thank you. Are there any other members who wish to speak on this item? No? No? Okay, thank you very much. I shall now move to the voting for the Combined Authority Committee members. Please can we note, firstly, recommendations A, B and D, please. Is that noted? Thank you very much indeed. Please can we now move en bloc to vote on recommendations C, G and H. Those in favour, please. Okay, that's the 3 leaders and the mayor there have voted in favour of that, please. And please can we now vote en bloc on the recommendations E and F, please. Those in favour? Thank you, that's everyone. Thank you very much. Item 17, this is the Treasury Management Outturn Report 2021. This report presents the Treasury Management Outturn Report for the year 2020-21. There are no decisions to be taken on this report. Are there any comments from members before I ask the committee to formally note this report, please? Does anyone wish to comment on this one? No, thank you very, very much indeed. Then please can I therefore ask that the Combined Authority Committee members to formally note the report recommendations. Okay, and this final item now, we're on item 18, this is the investment fund. We move on to the latest investment fund report. Following discussion with Combined Authority Committee members, we have an amendment to this report. I would now like to formally move the amendment, which is as follows, which I will now read. That an additional recommendation 14 be added to the report as follows: to approve the feasibility and development funding application for Thornbury High Street, public realm, and the award of £200,000 from the Lover High Street allocation, with the opportunities for other match funding for the delivery of this project to be fully explored as part of developing the full business case. Please can I ask for a seconder for this? Toby, thank you very, very much. Can I ask for the committee to vote on this amendment? Is that amendment agreed? Those in favour, please show. Marvin, are you in on this one?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so that's okay, don't worry. It's one of those days today, that's fine. Okay, that amendment is carried. Thank you very much. I now move the recommendation as set out in the report, including the additional recommendation 14 as per the amendment. Please can I call for a seconder for that? A seconder, thanks Toby. Okay, Toby, do you want to speak to this, please? Because I know you and I have been talking about this, and I agree it's very important, this.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Yeah, very pleased to second the item here. I'm delighted to see the increasing focus on supporting our high streets through their recovery. I think we've had great funding success with Kingswood off the back of that initial WECA investment in WECA's first term, colleagues will now be aware that we are pursuing opportunities for the community in the market town of Thornbury, and I'm very grateful for the conversations that we've been able to have in the background in the run-up to today's meeting to ensure that we are able to move that piece of work on. We have taken that quite a high-profile decision as a council cabinet to progress with an ambitious public realm and engagement project for Thornbury, which is in the region of 6 to 8 million in capital works. Given our clear commitment to this project and the need to move quickly, the funding that we've agreed to release today is critically important to that, and that will certainly set Thornbury up as one of our high streets that is better able to bounce back from the challenges not only of the past 15 months, but the structural challenges that our high streets had been suffering from in the years leading up to 2020. I'm also really pleased to see the Commons Connections project now proceeding to full business case, that will make a welcome contribution to our climate change commitments and the joint green infrastructure strategy that we have adopted as a combined authority. This will involve planting almost 6,000 new trees, as well as the creation of many new wildflower areas. It includes the reintroduction of grazing animals, conservation grass mowing practices, creation and remediation of ponds, better management of wetland areas. It'll create an exciting new wild belt, stretching up from the Willsbridge Mill Nature Reserve all the way northwards to the community of Lyde Green. And I think it's just another example of how we're able to make tangible progress on both the climate and nature emergencies as a combined authority. Very much welcome the recommendations. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Toby. That was very helpful indeed. I appreciate that very much. Is there any other members who wish to speak on this at the moment? Marvin?
No, I just welcome the the work around Hawkfield Business Park in here and Bartyard Studios as well. And two bits of work of huge significance for Bristol and the city's reputation, and I'd say of regional, national significance as well. I'll just take the opportunity as well to include in there Eastern Entrance, which we also mentioned, to Temple Meads, and just talk about just how important the regeneration in Temple Meads, backing onto the new university campus. We just had the announcement in the news this week with LNG, the £350 million going into Temple Island, and that being a gateway to the regeneration of Temple Quarter. When you add this up, we're talking 22,000 jobs, 10,000 homes, hugely significant to the region, and we need to take every opportunity available to us to make sure that government understand just how significant that regeneration opportunity is, and just keep banging away. We can't do it just on our own dime. We're going to need national government support with that. So just to emphasise that one again.
Thanks, Marvin. Sorry, this is a complicated system where we have to press buttons and turn them off at the right times and everything. Marvin, absolutely agree. Really, really important what you're saying. And of course, it's so important to us that we are underwriting very key and important works to make sure that they definitely happen, irrespective of any bids that we may or may not make. It's that important to us. So I want a message to go out very clear that the development there at Temple Meads is essential, and we are absolutely 100% full square behind it, all of us determined to get that go through. So just to be crystal clear and on the record for that. Okay, is there anyone else who'd like to speak? Steve.
Thank you, Chair. It's an observation, really, wearing a different hat. How we vision our places going forward, and in particular the High Street, we need to make sure that we're locking in other big anchor institutions to some of the thinking. So I'm doing a fairly big piece of national work at the moment around health and social care as part of reimagining how we're going to deliver health and social care in different ways going forward. And the high streets actually offer something that could potentially pull in another big public service that has a state and has to think differently about how it's going to use and deliver services going forward. So we've got an integrated care system that's being developed. Unitary authorities are key in that space as well. So I guess it's how do we join things up in ways that allow us to use funding streams in different ways, in very creative ways, add in private sector investment alongside the public purse to deliver a different future. And we've got to be more creative and more innovative in the way in which we do some of this stuff. Those that get it right, I think there'll be opportunities that really do drive us forward very, very quickly. I'm echoing really the points that Marvin's made and others have made.
Thank you, Steve. That's really, really important. I agree completely that we've got to do it better. We've got to get more in resources that our area and region need and deserve. Okay, just before we move on, I'd just like to say a few things. I'd just like to highlight a couple of main commitments being made through this report, just so that people are aware. One of them is that we are using £1 million of identified headroom to increase recovery funding, because we are still in a crisis, whatever people think. We know it's very challenging. It hasn't gone away as quickly as some might have hoped. We're still in it, so that's really important financing. And to develop and implement further measures to support economic recovery in line with my manifesto commitments, which include a campaign to support regional reopening. High streets and other things are really, really important too, of course. They're more than just shops. They are actually focal points for our society, our community. They really, really matter. A Jobs and Skills Summit, which is very imminent at the beginning of next month, and green skills focused activity as we run up to the UN Climate Change Conference, which we've heard about earlier, which is so important and draws the world's attention on us, and we must rise to that challenge. And an additional £1 million of grant funding for small medium enterprises and the creative sector in recognition of the high demand of quality applications received to date. And I'm very pleased that we're able to do that quickly, because that's important. Also, a further £1 million allocation for walking and cycling infrastructure. There are other things there too, but I won't go through all of them. Are there any members who wish to speak any further before we move on? Toby?
Chair, thank you. Yeah, there was, only because I don't think there was an opportunity elsewhere in the agenda to talk about it. But it was just in relation to some of the public comments that were made in the sort of the items from the public. And I suppose I'm loosely hanging it off a reference within the report to the Wraxall Road roundabout scheme that is currently under construction. And it's just in relation to the consultation that the council is currently running to improve a number of other junctions along the ring road. So firstly, just to deal with Dave's point that he made within his contribution, I think that is why we're doing the consultation, I think, to understand how we can benefit as many transport users in getting around the area in their sort of preferred way as much as possible, and we'll carefully consider those consultation responses and see what ultimately is the scheme that goes forward. I also just wanted to clarify the assumption that was made in one of the written public submissions that we received, that this is basically somehow money that we could spend on something else. I just wanted to be very clear that it is the Department for Transport that has invited us as the Highway Authority to bid for funds that support improvements to the major route network. So the debate isn't about whether this is £30 million that could be spent on something else. The debate is whether this is £30 million that comes into the West of England area. The idea that this can just be moved around and spent as we see fit as a combined authority is an erroneous statement, and I just wanted to clarify what the rules are in relation to this particular funding bid. We may well not get awarded the funding, but it is an invitation from government that we are responding to.
Thank you very much, Toby, and thank you for showing that we do listen to what people say and take account of it in our meetings. So thank you for that. Okay, shall we now move to voting for the Combined Authority committee members, please? Please can we now note on block on recommendations 1 to 13 and also the new recommendation 14 as added through the amendment. So can we note that, please? Can you show? Is that all done? Okay, thank you. So that goes through. That formally goes through, Shazia, I think. I'm right in saying. So that is the end of the meeting, unless I'm mistaken. And well done, everybody. What a long haul we got there. Thank you for your patience. Really appreciate your time today. Thank you.